Hey, horror fans, TS Terrors here. So, I went and saw The Conjuring Last Rites in the theaters on opening day, and this will be a spoiler free review of the movie so that those of you who are considering going to see it can be a little bit more informed about it without worrying about knowing more than you should going in. Now, prior to having seen Last Rites, my personal preference for the Conjuring movies is Conjuring 2, Conjuring 1, and then Conjuring 3. Now, after having seen Last Rites, I'm not sure if I want to put Last Rites before or after the second film. It was a very good movie, but of course there were things that could have made it a little bit better. Now, I will warn you right now, I will be including clips from previous Conjuring movies when talking about certain moments just to remove any confusion about which scene it could be that I'm talking about. So if you haven't seen the previous Conjuring movies yet, don't worry, they won't spoil anything, but maybe it'll be the motivation that you need to go and watch them. So let's start off with the pacing, because it is a little over 2 hours of a movie, and it is a slow burn in my opinion, but I think that helped elevate the importance of the narrative, because from the very beginning they were trying to build up the story and help you understand exactly who it was and what it is that you are watching. Now, with that being said, if you have never watched the Conjuring movies before, you may get slightly confused. I say that because the person that I went with, he has never seen any of the Conjuring movies. He doesn't know a single thing about the Conjuring movies. And at the end of the movie, when we left the theater, he was telling me that he was kind of confused by the way that they put things together. He didn't really follow along too well because it was a bit confusing. He enjoyed it, but the way that it was structured, because he'd never seen it, didn't fully make sense to him, and he was still trying to put things together. And he went home and basically looked things up. For me, obviously, I understood everything that was going on because I follow the universe closely, but that should tell you what to maybe expect. Though, if you are the type of person that can follow along easily and pay attention, maybe you won't have a problem, maybe it was just a him problem. Now, for the scare factor itself, this movie to me wasn't exactly scary. It definitely felt like the focus was more on the narrative and the people in the movie itself rather than the scare factor. At least in the front half, they were creating this sort of expectation that there would be some jump scares here and there. And when they had these expectations set up, you're like, okay, a jump scare is coming. You know, the classic thing that would happen. But then there wouldn't be. And it created this expectation of, false jump scares. Like, you're like, okay, here comes another fake out. But then once in a while, there actually would be a jump scare and it would catch you off guard. So I feel like they did a decent job of kind of subverting your expectations with the jump scares and made the ones that did happen kind of enjoyable. Granted, they weren't the best, but it didn't feel like the focus of the movie was on the scare factor, even though the later half of the movie was where most of the scares really came out. But that's just for the jump scares themselves. The normal scares where the tension's building up, the monsters approaching, things of that nature, those were done pretty well. There were a couple of scenes that I was just like, oh wow, okay, this is cool. It almost felt like there was a jump scare building up, but it wasn't a jump scare and it was very obvious. And when the monster did reveal itself, it was really cool. It was like, okay, that's actually awesome. And it created these really fun moments. Granted, they didn't last as long as I wish they would have, but again, it really was meant to feel like the whole movie was focused on the characters themselves and not the scares. So it did feel like some of the scare moments were a little bit shorter than they needed to be, but at least one part of the movie was really well done, and it almost rivaled that Conjuring 2 scene for me. And speaking of the Conjuring 2, Valak in that scene was a very terrifying monster. And unfortunately, with the Conjuring Last Rites, the monster design just didn't quite make it up to par with that of Valak or some of the other monsters that you might have seen, like the Crooked Man. I won't say that the monsters in Last Rites were anything basic, bland, or boring, because they weren't, but they weren't anything to write home about like the Crooked Man or Valak, which is unfortunate because one of the monsters, I only remember seeing the monster once, and it looked pretty well detailed. The other monster that we saw in the trailer, well, that was actually, a really well detailed monster, and it made a couple of appearances, which I liked, and it actually added to the scare factor. Not the scare factor, I should say, but the creepiness factor, which is really good. But yeah, unfortunately, the monsters just didn't feel as prominent as they could have, and it's a little bit disappointing because I would have loved to have seen more monster design and stuff like that. Something like the Crooked Man or Valak, because That Valak scene in The Conjuring 2 is fantastic. And before I forget, for those of you that enjoy the Conjuring universe and enjoy the Annabelle movies, you will be happy to know that she is in fact in this movie. In what regard, I won't say because I don't want to spoil it, but any expectation that you might have for how she's in this movie, you're probably wrong. That's all I'm going to say. You will never expect in what way she's in this movie, and it's fantastic. It is something that I couldn't see coming. It was very clever, and you'll get a good kick out of how they incorporate her in this movie. Now, before I forget to mention it, there was a few moments in this movie that some of you may find very gross and or very disturbing. If you have a weak stomach, this scene may get to you a little bit. I don't think you'll throw up or anything, but I personally loved the scene. I thought it was fantastic, and it really does help illustrate the connection between humans and the demons and or spirits, especially when the human takes an action that can affect the spirit or a demon in such a way, and what retaliation the demon or spirit might take. So it's one of those moments where if you have a weak stomach, you may not be able to handle it, but I absolutely loved it, and I'm sure you will too. So overall, I very much enjoyed this movie, and I would give it 8.5 Annabelle dolls out of 10. As a Conjuring fan, it was a great way to close off the universe, and it was just a really fun movie to watch. If you have not seen the Conjuring movies yet, I would say definitely go give it a watch. I know some theaters even do half-off days and half-off times, so you can get a discounted price to go watch it if you would like, or you can just probably wait for it to, come on the TV in the future or something like that. But I would say go give it a watch in the theaters because it's really worth it, and it may spark your interest in the Conjuring universe entirely, because beyond the Conjuring, there is still Annabelle and the Nun. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like rating on it, and if you didn't enjoy it, feel free to leave a dislike, but at least tell me how I can improve in the comment section below. I do plan on making more reviews on movies in the future for movies that I am interested in, as well as video games in the near future as well, hopefully. I do want to expand this channel beyond Halloween and Halloween animatronics, so that is something to be aware of. But if you are interested in seeing more content from me, feel free to hit that subscribe button. And until next time, stay scary, and I hope to catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.